Hello there, friends. My name is Julie. This is Stamp with Julie Baum. Thank you for joining me on this episode of Simply Saturday. Simply Saturday is a series here on my YouTube channel where I get to show you a card that is fast and easy to make. Today is absolutely no exception. Today's card is fast and easy, and it is so very, very cute. I think you're going to love it. I think you're going to want to take this same design and recreate it and make many, many more cards. Today's card is going to be an Easter theme, but we could easily use this design for any occasion. So let's jump in and get started. I am using the stamp set called Easter Bunny. This is in the current January to April mini catalog. And I'm using up some of my Dandy Designs Designer Series paper. This DSP was one of the free gifts that you could have earned back when we were having sale abration, and that was in January and February. But you can substitute whatever Designer Series paper that you have that works with your color scheme. All right, so let me show you the pieces and the parts. All right, so we're starting with a card base that is 4¼ inches by 11 inches, and I have scored it at 2 inches and 7½ inches. This is going to get folded and my creases reinforced with my bone folder. Now I'm using fresh Freesia for my card base, and fresh Freesia goes quite well with many of the Dandy Designs paper patterns. So you'll see that we're going to match those up. So you get those folds, and you can see the larger fold is going to be at the top and the smaller fold is going to be at the bottom. All right, then I have a piece of thick white cardstock. This measures 3½ inches by 4½. This is going to be for the little note inside of our pocket card. I have a couple of scraps. You either need one larger-ish scrap or 2 small scraps. This is going to be for our stamping and die cutting, or stamping and punching, and we're going to do a little bit of fussy cutting also. So you've got those. These are just regular weight. I do recommend the thicker paper for this piece. And then here's our Designer Series paper. So your larger piece measures 3¼ inches by 4 inches. And your second piece, which ought to coordinate nicely, that one is 1¾ inches by 4 inches. All right, the only other thing I have is a piece of fresh Freesia cardstock that I went ahead and die cut with a tag. You could simply cut this into a rectangle shape. That would be fine. And if you are going to do that, you want it to measure about 3¼ inches by 2 inches or so. All right, but I took this from this set of dies. This is called Tailor Made Tags, and this is available in the current annual catalog. I have so much beautiful sunlight streaming in today as I'm recording this, although we do have rain coming this week. But I'm not sure if there's a glare from my sunlight. That might be better. Okay, I'm going to shut those shutters. This is normally how I do it, just with my studio lights on. All right, so there is where I got my little die cut, okay? All right, let's do our stamping first. So we're going to start with that larger piece. This was the thick basic white cardstock. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp. Oh, here's our colors. We're using fresh Freesia ink, Granny Apple Green, and also black. So the first thing I'm going to do is with fresh Freesia and the stamp that says Happy Easter. So I'm getting that inked up. I do want to bring in my little stamping mat here. I tell you, when I get in a hurry or I just plain forget to grab this, I'm always slightly disappointed at how my images come out. So it really is worth the extra moment to pull that out of your drawer and use it underneath your cardstock when you're stamping with photopolymer stamps. All right, there's my Happy Easter. Let's add a little butterfly onto this. So I'll use my black Memento ink pad, and here's that cute little butterfly. I'm just going to kind of get it so it's close to the H, maybe not quite landing on it. Let's see where it landed. Yep, just about hovering above the H in Happy Easter. I see I've got a little bit of ink on myself. I'm going to take care of that real quick. So I'm using one of those alcohol prep pads. You see me use these all the time for multiple things. Right now I'm cleaning black ink off of me. Okay. Then what I want to do is add a little bit of grass. This part is kind of extra. You really don't have to do it for this card. So if you're trying to go even faster, then do not add the grass. But if you want to add a little pop of green, we're just going to kind of go below our words. Make a little row of grass. Often what I do is kind of repeat stamp in there so you get some light and some dark. I'm going to stamp this one off. Let me find a scrap here and put some of that right in there. All right, so there's our little bit of grass. Like I said, that's a little overkill. You don't have to add that if you don't want to. All right, let's color in our little butterfly. I'm going to use fresh Freesia for pretty much the wings, the large space on the wings. And so I'm using my fresh Freesia blend. This is the light. I'm using the bullet in just because it is kind of a small space that I'm coloring in. And there, and just a couple swipes of the marker, I've got my wings filled in. Now, in the designer series paper, this is Coastal Cabana, the blue. There is not a Coastal Cabana set of Stampin' Blends. So it's good to know that if you have the Bermuda Bay, if you use the light one, it will coordinate really beautifully. So since there is no Coastal Cabana, I'm just going to use Bermuda Bay for these little spots on the butterfly wings, just to pull in a little bit of that bluish color. All right, there we have that. Okay, we can set this aside. Now I'm going to take this little scrap and stamp some words using my black ink. And all of these are out of that same stamp set. This one says, enjoy all the little moments. So I'm going to stamp that on this white scrap, and then we're going to punch it out. All right, this is a fantastic punch to just have in your collection. It is the double oval. We're going to use this smaller oval with no scallops to punch out the words. Now, I also want to mention, if you stay tuned to the very end of this video, I am going to show you this same card, but ramped up a little bit. All right, and so you really do want to wait those extra few minutes at the very end so that you can see the few extras that I do to this card. Okay, and then on our other scrap, or if you were using one large scrap, we're going to stamp our bunny. Okay, and I'm using this bunny that's kind of sitting up so sweetly with his little paws folded in front of him. All right, so there's the bunny. And we're done with our stamping, so I can move my Stampin' Pierce mat out of the way. Let's do a little bit of coloring on the bunny. So I am using Smoky Slate, both light and dark. And the first thing I'm going to do is quickly color in kind of the body of my bunny. So I'm using the light to go around the outside of the ears. And then I'm going to go a little bit up here around his face, coming all the way down, all the way down. All right, because all of this is going to get filled in with this gray. And I'm using that brush marker so I can get a lot of coverage quite quickly. Now, same thing, I'm going to swoop across here. I just want a little bit of color. I don't really want my bunny's face gray. I'm going to go with a white bunny face. But you know what? There is no right or wrong way to color a bunny. So whatever moves you, you might want the whole thing left white. You might color the whole thing gray. You might use black. I was just at a spring festival with one of my daughters and her two little boys this past weekend, And there was a tiny little petting zoo, and there were 3 bunnies that were so incredibly soft. And there was a white one, a gray one, and a black and white spotted one. And they were very sweet. All right, so I'm using my dark now, and I'm putting dark at the bottom. I feel like where the bunny is sitting would kind of be shadowed a little bit. Then I'm also going to put a little dark underneath each arm where I think there would be a shadow. I'm going to fill in a little dark here on the sides, not too much. And I'm going to go back now to the light and just blend some of this in. I don't want it to look like a line, so I'm just blending, and this is where the Stampin' blends are so amazing. They truly make you color as if you're an artist and you know what you're doing. All right, so you can see now there's some beautiful shading just in gray, but we are gonna be super happy with that. All right, I've got fresh Freesia. This is the light, and I'm gonna put a little color on the inside of Bunny's ears. And right or wrong, I don't know, but this bunny is getting fresh Freesia colored feet. And we're gonna put a fresh Freesia nose on the bunny too, because I just wanna bring in that color. Okay, and then the last thing that I'll do is come in with the dark gray for a last time, do the little spots, the little pads on the bottom of Bunny Bun's feet. And I also like to just go over the eyebrows. And you know what? Only because I'm thinking about it right now, I'm going to add fresh Freesia and add the tiniest bit of color right at about where the bunny's cheeks would be. I'm going to barely touch my marker down, just to give a little hint of color. If that's too much for you, then just leave the cheeks out. No problem. Okay, grab your paper snips. This is where we're going to do some fussy cutting. And when I do my fussy cutting, what I'm trying to eyeball is leaving the tiniest little white space still intact around my image. I feel like the cutout image looks better and cleaner that way than trying to cut right exactly on the outline of the image. So you can see I'm leaving just a teeny little kind of almost like a shadow, a white shadow all around. I'm turning my paper a lot more than I'm turning my scissors. That is a helpful cutting practice. You've got nice sharp scissors and you're kind of adjusting your paper to go where you want it to go. All right, we're nearly done. There is not a die or a punch for this shape. I say that, but there is a coordinating punch that will punch out this bunny. So if you're really into only stamping the images that you could punch out and not have to fussy cut, then you would just use that bunny instead. All right, we're almost done. We're down to the last curve around the foot. And there we have our bunny cut out. Okay. Now we're going to start putting this all together. So the first thing I'm going to start with is my liquid glue. And I'm going to attach the large piece of designer series paper to the front of this fold. So a thin bead around all the edges, a little squiggle in the middle if you think it's needed. All right, and this is getting centered on that front panel, like so. Then we're going to take this second piece, this coordinating piece. It's going to go down here on the bottom panel. So again, I've got a little bead going all the way around the edges, a little squiggle in the middle. If you think it's needed, I'm sure just going around the edges is enough to hold it. It's very nice when you're attaching designer series paper to cardstock. The paper is thin in such a way that it doesn't require a lot of adhesive. So you want to be kind of sparing so that it doesn't squish out on your project and make a sticky mess. All right, and I am going to hit my folds one more time with my bone folder. Okay, now the next thing that we're going to do, we're going to complete our tag here in just a minute, but I want to go ahead and assemble this. So what we need to do is glue this little flap down only on the outside edges. What we're doing is creating a pocket. All right, so we're going to keep this pocket open. Now, I have a couple of recommendations. If you have tear and tape, you will definitely be able to use that. In that case, you're going to take your tear and tape and put it right along the edge here and right along the edge here. The reason that I'm going to give you options is sometimes when we go to tuck our little note card in, it can be a little bit tight with these edges taped down with your tear and tape, so that this is a little snug when it's moving up and down. So I have two variations to fix that. But if you have tear and tape and that's what you're going to use, go ahead and do that. If you find that your little card is not sliding up and down as easily as you want to, you could always trim this down and make it a tiny bit narrower. That would help. Okay, but another option, instead of using your 1/4 inch tear and tape, is you could use your liquid glue, which would allow you to put even a thinner little bit of adhesive there, or you just might have some other adhesives within reach. So I do also have score tape, which is just like tear and tape, but I have this one in a 1/8 inch width. And so that's what I'm going to use. I'm going to lay it down right here. Again, you have two equally good choices. I think this one stands out just a teeny bit better because it's going to hold as strong as the tear and tape, but it's more narrow. All right, so I've got my two pieces of tape there. I used my metal ruler. What I do is I line the ruler up to the edge of the paper, as you can see I'm doing. Then I press the ruler down and pull the tape up in order to tear it nice and cleanly. Okay, let's release the backing and get our pocket finished. All right, so that's going to seal it down only at the outside edges, which is exactly what we need. This little piece, which we've left plenty of room here for you to write a note, that's going to tuck down inside, and we're going to finish the front. So this tag is actually going to just kind of be a background piece. I'm going to angle it like so, so it's angled up towards this corner. And be sure in just a moment when we attach this to only put adhesive where it's going to stick to the top flap. You don't want any adhesive here or you're going to glue your pocket card together. So keep that in mind. Let's build it first and then we'll attach it. So on the back of my bunny, I'm going to take a couple of Stampin' Dimensionals. I'll use 3. I'm going to use one behind his face, in the back of his head, and the other 2 by the legs, but you'll notice I'm going to be careful and not do them too widely set apart. Ask me how I know. If you go then to put this on your tag like so, you could end up in trouble with sticky parts sticking out on the outside. Okay, I have done it, so I've learned. So I'm going to put 2 of them on here, but I'm going to put them more like behind his little chubby thighs instead of out behind his feet. Okay, so let's take the backings off of our dimensionals, and I'm going to put it kind of in a diagonal on my tag. You can even lay it on here, get your tag right where it's going to go, and then determine the placement of your bunny. All right, there's bunny. Now let's attach our words. I'm going to be putting this little oval right here, and I'm only going to choose to put adhesive over here. It doesn't matter too much. It's not critical, because even if you put adhesive across the whole thing, it will stick down like that. I just feel like there's a bit of a lump right here where it runs off the tag, so I'm only going to stick it to this and let this stay floating like that. All right, that was a lot of explanation, sorry. All right, so I've got my glue. Bunny is going to be straight. Oval is going to be here. All right, now we can get ready to attach this. Let's go ahead and put in our trim. At the end, when I show you the other versions, you'll see that you can use ribbon quite effectively. We're just going to use some twine. I've got a couple lengths of white baker's twine here, and I'm just going to put 2 lengths through and tie a knot. We're not even going to tie a bow today. All right, so I've got it doubled. Just tie a knot. That certainly qualifies for our fast and easy. I think I'll do a double knot. There we go. And then once I get it onto my card, I'll trim up those tails. Okay, so here we are. We're putting the adhesive on. I'm going to stay pretty much, I'll use this as a pointer. I'm going to pretty much stay above kind of this visual angle from that corner and only put my adhesive above that. And then for sure I'll be safe and not glue my pocket card shut. Okay, we've got this in place. This little angle is pointing towards that corner. My bunny is nice and straight, and we can put that in place. Oh my goodness, it's all coming together. Look at how cute. And you can see that we have not glued the card together on accident because there's no adhesive in this area at all. Okay, some scissors to trim up these little twine tails, like so. And then I think we'll just embellish it with a couple of sequins. These pastel adhesive backed sequins have certainly come in handy on lots of projects. These are also in the January to April mini. We're getting very close to the end of that catalog period, and so you may want to stock up on some of those things before we have any lists revealed of what for sure is going to retire and so forth, because they will put some things on sale, and as soon as they go on sale, they're sure to sell out. So you can choose if you want to risk it and wait to see if something that you like in the January to April goes on sale. That's this one. Or you can go ahead and kind of make your list and get those things ordered before they sell out. One thing I will mention is the in colors that are retiring. Those ink refills for your ink pads and also the cardstock often sell out. So if you need to restock on those before they retire, be sure and get those orders in right away. All right, back to our sequins. I'm going to use kind of the pinkish. I really don't know if they're supposed to be pink or white, but they're really pulling the pink color when I've got them next to this fresh freesia. So I'll put a large sequin here, a small one here, and one more large down here. I love it. All right, let's clear everything out of the way so we can reveal our card, and then I'm going to show you what I mentioned about sticking around for the bonus project. All right, so here's our little card. It opens very sweetly with a little note tucked inside. Just darling. All right, that is that. Now, let me show you the bonus. Instead of having this little tag tucked inside, we can actually do a separate piece in here instead, and this will create a pull up. All right, let me get that piece. This is a piece of white, thick cardstock. The measurements are 3.5 by 7, and you need to score this piece at 2 inches and 6.5 inches. Okay, now what we're going to do with this is we're going to fold the large flap basically up towards us and the smaller flap away from us. So it's kind of like a Z, looks like a funky Z. Okay, and I'm going to burnish those folds. Aren't you glad you stuck around? You're going to love this. Okay. If you do this, you're going to do your stamping only on this little piece right here. So we are not running very long. Let's just go ahead and do that. Here is, once again, Happy Easter. You can add the grass or not. we can add our little butterfly. Color that in. And then I'll show you how we're going to attach this to the inside of the card and make a really cool pull-up feature. All right, and as happens sometimes, I'm sure it happens to you too, I've gotten something on this. I don't think it's going to show. It's going to totally be hidden, but just in case, I'm going to grab my sand eraser and see if I can get rid of that little smudge. It wasn't really ink. It was more like something dirty. All right, so that helped quite a bit. Some of these extra little tools, like my sand eraser, my little metal ruler, and some other things are favorite tools that I use. They're not Stampin' Up! Items. I do get them through Amazon, and I always provide a shopping link for those Amazon items down below the video in the description box. Okay, so we've got that piece. Now, we're going to put our tear and tape on this skinny strip. So you just go ahead and use your typical tear and tape, the 1/4 inch width. And I'm going to put it right up against the fold. Press down on the ruler and up on the tape. Okay, now watch this. This is now going to tuck down inside the card, like so. And we're going to attach the top. So what you want to do is line up the top of the thick white cardstock that's in your hand, like that, and release the backing paper from your tear and tape. And all you need to do is close your card to make it stick. And then what happens when you open the card is it will pull up this pocket. So cute. See how that does? Now, in this pocket, you can either tuck a little note card, or I don't have a gift card in front of me, but you can imagine you could tuck a gift card down inside there too, so that it pops up and reveals a little treat inside the pocket. Oh my goodness, so exciting. Only because of the extra mechanics of that, I didn't want to feature it as a Simply Saturday card, but you can see that it's still maybe not quite as fast, but it's still easy to do. All right, let me show you just a couple others, some variations. So this one, all right, these two were done with different papers than this, but still from the same pack. These are from Dandy Design, different color scheme. So on this one, here, let me get my little pocket tucked inside. There we go. Okay, I'm going to show you something super critical. This one, I did not use thick cardstock. So this is our regular weight white cardstock, and it will work, okay? It will still tuck in and pop up. It just doesn't slide back down in as easily. It wants to buckle, okay? It just kind of doesn't want to go. You have to help it a little. So that is why I switched to the thick cardstock, which works much better. Okay, so that's why I recommended the thick. Now, another thing, you can use the sequins as we did on the card that I showed you, or you could use the iridescent rhinestone jewels. Those are beautiful and they pick up all of the colors. So there's that. And then let me also show you one more. This one looks a lot like this one. I changed the color of my tag, and I also ran this tag through an embossing folder to give it some texture. So that's really yummy. And then behind the oval, I chose to use the second oval from the punch that has the scallop and back that. Okay, so you can see it's just stepped up a little bit. This is what the ribbon looks like. This is fresh Freesia ribbon, and this was the twine. So there's a couple options. You can see the sequins again and the iridescent jewels. So that gives you an idea of just some extra little things that you could do to your card if you choose to. And in the meantime, here's our card from the day with our little pop-up part or our little note card that fits down inside. Thank you so much for watching today. I hope that you enjoyed this project. I hope that it makes you want to make one. If you've never subscribed to my channel, I invite you to do that and tell a friend. I'm sure you have a crafty friend or two. Make sure that they're aware of my YouTube channel and all of the fun tutorials that I'm able to share with you here. I will put a bunch of links, a host code, and other information in the description box below this video. At first, you can only see maybe a couple of sentences, and you need to click on the words that say show more, and then that box will open and reveal all the great stuff that I'm talking about. I'm happy to share this card with you, and until next time, happy stamping.